And I think with just that, we've now got another caller.
Yeah, people are trained to make calculations rather than to think.
Okay, that's it. That's exactly what we're saying. We have a caller from West Virginia. I think Ollie in West Virginia.
Oh, cool.
So can we bring Ollie on?
Hello.
Hello.
I've read your work, and I just found it fabulously interesting. I have read some of Bearden's work. I read Il Ferdinand, and attempted to struggle through his concepts and principles of free energy. I'm still working on that. Anyway.
Well, do you pay an electric bill each month?
Beg pardon?
You pay an electric bill each month?
Well, yes, I do. Yep.
Well, imagine if you got that kind of energy without having to pay for it. See, that's free
I know.
energy.
I know.
So that's all I mean by
years.
That's all I mean about free energy. It's like, you know, you're not stealing it. It's free for the taking without stealing it.
Well, anyway, I read your book with great interest, and I understood it. One thing I didn't quite understand was why you did not interview Rodriguez. He was on the basement floor, I think he said, in the first one of the buildings, and he described, and I've met this fella, he described how the floor seemed to go upwards, as if there was an explosion underneath his feet. And I just wondered why you did not interview him in your book.
I was working with evidence that I could observe myself, or as far as the first responders go, that's under oath that they gave their statements, and so also the further out you get time-wise, people start remembering what they think they're supposed to remember. It's not that they're lying; it's that they try to conform to what they think is the right answer. And I've noticed about Mr. Rodriguez is his story has changed over time quite a bit. You know,
well, I heard him when it was within about a year, you know, within the time of the event. I had occasion to meet him in Washington, D.C. And
one particular thing that struck me about it, he was saying, like, he saw several of the hijackers in the towers in a bathroom taking measurements a month before 9/11. You know, as though they were seeing if they could park an airplane there. You know, why would they be taking measurements in a bathroom?
I may also add, Ollie, that I actually met Mr. Rodriguez as well. He actually came to stay in my house in 2007, so I got to sort of meet him and talk to him at some length actually. And if you'd like to email me after the program, or even now, if you go onto my website, checktheevidence.com, and and then you click on click on the contact button there. What I'll do is, if you email me, I'll send you a link which is specifically about Mr. Rodriguez, which I think you might find quite interesting.
No, I would appreciate that.
Yeah, because
he's
definitely an interesting character.
Anyway, thank you, Dr. Wood, about the marvelous work you've done. Marvelous.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for calling. Appreciate hearing from you. Thank you.
I will hang up and continue to listen to your discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. So that
looks like we have another caller.
Is that right? Do we have another caller as well? If we have another caller, then certainly we can speak to another caller. I'm not sure. Oh, Jerry, yes. Jerry in Chicago. I didn't see that. Sorry.
So, good evening, Dr. Woods, and both of you. Thanks a lot for taking my call. Hey, you had a caller call in a few minutes ago worried about the nuclear radiation and everything else like that if the power were to go off. I have a friend of mine that is a number 2 controller at a nuclear power plant right here in Illinois, and he had told me that they have got a stockpile of diesel fuel to run those generators to keep the water circulating in the cooling ponds for at least 2 years.
Right.
Which I found to be kind of incredible because those would be some very, very big tanks. And now,
imagine if they lit up.
Yeah, well, here's the other thing too: is he's also the one. He just told me last Saturday that radiation is your body needs radiation, and I says, well, which type of radiation?
Exactly.
The 137 or the 134?
Right, or the UV light or whatever from the sun.
Right, and I mean, this is what he was getting at, and I told him, I says, listen, I said, 3 strikes the nuclear industry is out. I says, we had 3 Mile Island, we had Chernobyl, and now we got Fukushima. When are people going to wake up?
Yes.
And the way I understand it is they could have chosen to use thorium.
That's right, yes.
Instead of plutonium or uranium, and thorium, after 1 year of being cooled down and everything, would have been 100% biodegradable, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right. You're right about that, and we know from what we've been studying that there are a number of alternatives like that. It's not the thorium reactors is not something that Dr. Wood and I have discussed, but I've discussed it with other people, and it's another one of these viable technologies which has essentially been marginalised and covered up. And I think in the case of the nuclear industry, the reason why nuclear industry has been allowed to proliferate is twofold. One is it creates a lot of toxic waste, which you have to spend a lot of money on managing, so that a lot of companies can make money out of that. And the other is, of course, the more obvious one, is it can be used to make nuclear bombs. The plutonium can be used to make nuclear bombs. So I think those are probably the 2 main reasons why the nuclear industry has been allowed to proliferate. Okay, well, we've got another break there, so we're going to come back for this final segment in a few minutes. I think I've got one more question that was emailed in to me to go through. And if there are any more callers, please call in and we'll try and get to your call. So we'll see you and talk to you in a few minutes. Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. We're filling in for Ralph Winterrowd this week, and you're here on RBN, and Ralph will be back next week. I have with me Dr. Judy Wood, and her website is drjudywood.com, and my website is checktheevidence.com. And you can write to me through that website. Just click the contact button, and I'll try to answer any questions you may have. And I just wanted to return briefly to something we'd said earlier on, because I did have a question from Jason, but we actually, I think, answered it, because he'd asked, I've got Dr. Wood's book, I've read it, it could be maybe I need to give it another read to remember if what happened on 9/11 is actual evidence for free energy technology, or that it simply resembles it. Why is it free energy technology and not just simply a new form of technology? Is it because it resembles technology of the type that Hutchison discovered, or was demonstrably free, or are other reasons why it must be free energy technology? Many thanks, and keep up the great work. So that's from Jason. Well, we did sort of cover that already with some of the other questions. It's essentially the technology did what it did, and the way that the energy was released or was used or rearranged. The closest we can get to describing that is really, I think, is to use the word free. It was coming from somewhere, not from a conventional source like burning diesel or petrol or this sort of thing.
No, it doesn't have a meter on it.
It doesn't have a meter on it. So, I think you get a feel for it when you study the cover-up of this sort of technology.